Hey everyone. So I often joke that the best way to spell check your writing is to just hit publish. As soon as it's out there, you're going to catch those errors or somebody will point them out to you. But joking aside, I wanted to walk you through my workflow for writing and publishing articles, whether it's a blog post, social media post, things like that. I'm going to show you a couple of the tools I use and as maybe a couple of hacks that will help you improve your process. So the first tip is to use a smart editor. And when I mean smart, I mean things that have some good features and functions built into it. I use this one called Drafts, primarily because I can capture stuff really quickly. So if I'm at my desktop computer, I can go up here, hit Drafts, click New Draft, and it's going to open. I can just start typing stuff in here. And it's going to save it as I type. If you look down here, there's all sorts of features and functions. I can put in the date, the time. I can format this with other things. It'll spell check as I go. But primarily I use it because I can capture stuff immediately. There's no file, new, things like that. They also have an iOS app. So I've literally had this idea at 3 in the morning, grab my phone, open up Drafts, and write it down quickly before I forget it, and then try to go back to sleep. So this is a tool I use. It has a desktop app, as you can see, and a iOS app. A couple other ones that I've seen that are really popular are Ulysses. They also have ones for Mac, iPad, and iPhone, and these will sync. So if you create a draft or start writing something on one device, it'll sync to the other. And another one is called Bear. Similarly, it has apps for those three. These are all pretty Mac specific because that's the platform I use. So I apologize for that, but I'm sure there's some good Windows alternatives out there. So once you actually just capture your writing and put it on there, and using an editor that allows you to maybe put in some basic text editing like bold or headlines and lists, depending on your platform, that should probably have some spell checking built in. But what I like to do next is then check the writing for actual clarity and readability. So to do that, I use Grammarly Pro. Grammarly Pro is great, so I can. It has a couple features. One, there's a plugin, so if I'm in another program, it'll actually sort of check as I'm writing for some of these basic things. But you can also come into the actual Grammarly app, paste your passage into here, and it'll give you a much deeper analysis of it. So it'll give you some analysis of some of the readability, some sentences that maybe are a little too long, using passive voice. So it'll take you through all the recommendations that they make, and you can decide whether you want to accept those or not. They'll give you a score and just some overall guidelines on the writing quality and the content. So Grammarly Pro is the tool I use. There's a couple other ones out there that are free that also work pretty well as well. So one's called Hemingway Editor, and so this is just a desktop. It's just a website that you can go to. They do have a desktop app that you can install. When you open a new page, this is the first thing you're going to see, and this is sort of the default that shows you how it works. They give you a grade, and they give you some hints over here. So what you usually do is just grab your writing. You can write in here if you want. What I like to do is write in another program and then just paste it into here. So this is that same blog article that I created in Drafts. I paste it here, and it starts to check this. So it's telling me, for example, that this sentence is hard to read because it has a pretty long line length. So I can decide if I want to break that up into some sections. They give you some other hints, and they color code this based on the advice that they're saying. So like, this is maybe an unnecessary word. This is using the passive voice. Let's make something a little more forceful. So again, some of this you can take or leave, but it helps you just kind of understand how your writing is going to be taken and interpreted by the reader. So this is a great one called Hemingway. There's another one called Readable, which is similar. You can paste your content in here. They have a free level, which I'm using, which is here. So you paste it in here. And then similar, it looks like I've already used this too much today, so I've hit my limit, but it's similar to Hemingway, where they'll give you a score. Readable does have a deeper analysis, so they give you scores on a number of different metrics. So it's a little bit of a deeper analysis. If you use this infrequently, you can use the free level here, and you just paste it in there, and it'll work that way. The last one that I usually do, which is sort of my secret hack, is I like to hear my writing read out loud. So even when people are reading or writing, most of the time they hear an inner voice speaking those words out loud. And some people, even as they read, they just read those words out loud, like that annoying person on the train. So how can you do that? Although your writing is meant to be read, it's important to understand how it might sound being spoken aloud. So there's a couple ways to do that. If you are on a Mac or even an iPhone, so if I go to here and I paste that in, one thing you can do if you're on an Apple device is you can select that text, and then you can actually go down here to speech and start speaking, and it will read the text that you've selected out loud to you. I find the Apple one to be a little more natural sounding, and again, you can do that on your iPhone. I believe you can do that on Windows as well. I'm just, again, not too sure because I don't use that platform. So that's one option. The other way you could do that is to go to this website. I'm sure there's a number of other ones out there. This one seems to be the most user-friendly. It's Tts Reader, so text-to-speech-reader.com. And what you can do is in here, you paste your text, and then you have some options. You can choose the voice and the dialect that you'd like to hear with an accent. So, English US Alex. You can choose the speed, and you just click play, and it'll read through this. So this is really helpful sometimes to catch even things that a grammar checker might miss. So if you have the word the or an or I missing, grammar checker may not always catch that because it's just a word that's omitted. Where if you're hearing something read out loud, you're much more likely to catch that with your ears. The other tip I would say is if you're going to do this or when you're going to listen to the audio, close your eyes rather than reading along so that you can really actually just hear what it sounds like. Because sometimes if you're reading it at the same time, your brain's going to fill in those words and it's not going to align with what you're hearing. So, starting with a text editor that's pretty powerful to get you a starting point, kind of is that raw draft. Then I like to bring it into, a little more polished checker like Grammarly or Hemingway to help me understand, the tone and the clarity and the line length and really just the overall readability separate from the actual spell checking. And then my little last tip is to bring it into a program where you can hear it out loud for your final thing. And then my workflow is I use ActiveCampaign as our email marketing platform. So the last step is I paste it into here. And that's when I actually go through and start to format things with bold and italics and add links to other things like that. So that's how I write and publish my articles. Hopefully you found something useful out of that. Thanks for watching and take care.